Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
There's a video circulating on Facebook of you playing when you were 4.5. And if I may say it, you look very ordinary.
Okay.
And what I wanted to ask you some questions about is, how did you go from like an ordinary 4.5-year-old to the greatest of all time? So wanted to ask you some questions about your development and training.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know myself, because I have a very normal background. My parents worked in normal places, and I went to a normal tennis club, and I also played all sorts of sports when I was growing up. I was in a soccer club and in a tennis club, and then I was doing plenty of other sports besides it for fun. And tennis and soccer were always my number one, number two, and I was pretty good always in my age category in the area of Basel where I grew up, and then eventually nationally under 14 I became the best, and same thing happened then under 16, and that's then when I started to travel really much more also in international junior tournaments, and that's when I realized sometimes I would be really still far away from the best. And then as I was getting older, I was getting closer and closer to everybody. I was starting even to win a few tournaments, which was a big deal for me. And then really when I won Junior Wimbledon back in '98, I think for the first time I realized I could win like really big tournaments and at the same time play on the ATP Tour, where I finished 300 in the world. And that's when the dream came alive of, maybe I could really also become a Wimbledon champ on the men's tour. It's not just a dream anymore. Maybe I can make that reality. And the same thing happened also with the world number one ranking, because I finished number one junior in the world back in '98 after winning the Orange Bowl. And I remember I put it on my door. It's like, here, world number one, junior. And then I was thinking, like, could you imagine if I made that in the pros? And I never thought I was going to really do it, but of course I'm so happy.
Well, a number of pros have gotten close. Like Mats Wilander was number one for like 6 weeks, and he admitted that the internal pressure of being number one was just a bit too much for him.
Yep.
So how do you handle like how do you have the self-belief and handle that internal pressure of being number one? You make it look so easy.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed being the favorite. I think for me it was quite hard to get to world number one in some ways, because I saw other guys do it before me, and I felt like I didn't have such a hard time to do it, like Leighton Hewitt or Safin or Roddick, they just shot through and made it all to world number one. I got close, and then I got really close on a few occasions. I got really nervous in some really big matches where I could have been number one in the world, and then I had to wait again for many, many months. And I think that really toughened me up. And I just told myself, I prefer to be 1 over 3. That means I feel like the other guy has to probably change his game around over that you have to change your game. And then I think that helped me to stay calm mentally. And then I think a big decision was one I took back in 2004 when I became world number one for the first time after winning the Australian Open, is that I was not going to overplay. I was not going to chase just money and just things. I was going to stay put on my plan of improving physically, improving as a tennis player, and then playing, at the right times, my right tennis. And I think that was a decision I took a long time ago, to be consistent and longevity. And that's why I think I'm still here today.
Fear is one of the biggest inner obstacles that athletes of all sports face, and it sounds like you've faced that that fear yourself, what you just said. So what have you done? Like, is it just experience, or did you do something to
I think improving physically helped me a lot to become stronger. I think that then was maybe the last puzzle remaining for me to really unlock my potential. Maybe it gave me the belief that I was actually faster than I could be fast every day on court. I could get balls back that I didn't know I could. I could play for 4 hours. All these things gave me that extra something and more fun in the process. So I think improving physically was a huge thing. I always embraced the traveling. For me, that was always something that was fun, and I always embraced also and enjoyed playing on the big courts. You know, I didn't want to get stuck on court number 23. I wanted to break through, and when I had a chance to play on the big stage, I usually played very well, and actually also had some success, which then helped to stay really motivated day to day.
Another inner obstacle is anger, and you've described yourself as a junior as a hothead.
Yep.
But you overcame that too. So tell us a little bit about how you.
Yeah, that was a big
dealt
deal
with
for
your
me
anger.
to overcome that too. That was hard because I felt like I tried to adjust my mind and, you know, not my life, but just my mind around it, so I wouldn't get so upset and so mad at, you know, missing shots, and not get too sort of disappointed and sad about stuff. And it took me about 3 years, from I'd say maybe 19 to 22. It was a long and hard process, but eventually I got it right, and I feel like I got the fire and ice, you know, like cool in the right moments, and then showing the emotions and wanting it really badly all the time, or sometimes in the right moments. So I think that was for me also a huge stepping stone in the right direction when I was able to make that adjustment.
I don't know if you follow American football, but the New England Patriots just came from behind and
Yeah, I saw that.
won the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady actually said that a tennis book, The Inner Game of Tennis, was instrumental in his developing
know
his
that,
mental
okay.
toughness. And when they look at NFL quarterbacks, they discovered that they have a skill that they really didn't know about before, perceptual skills, the ability to scan the field and to really see intuitively what's going on. I've watched you play a number of times in person, and I've never seen anyone that just has the ability to read and react to the ball that you do. Is there anything, is that all natural and intuitive? Is there anything you do to train that?
Yeah, I think I play almost best when I'm reacting, you know, to whatever my opponent gives me. I feel like that makes me really feed off my opponent. You know, I can go in with a lot of different ideas, and that's why, I mean, I talk to my coaches a lot, and we talk about what we could improve the most, and what are the weaknesses, the strengths, what are the patterns of my opponents, you know, all these things, but they can also blur my mind a little bit sometimes, so I have to be very careful not to overdo it. So for me to just go out there and play is also a solution, and just play your game, and then the rest takes care of itself.
No
and
thinking.
No thinking, and then, like you said, I sort of scan the field. I play reactive tennis, yet with a purpose to play my game, and I think that's actually worked very well for me too.
So, playing off of what you just said about not thinking, when's the last time that you had a match that you would say you were in the zone, as we call it, or a flow state?
I think that would have been the Australian Open final, because I think, I came into the finals with a very clear mind, which is nice. You know, it was free, it was ready to fight, it was not dominated by fear, it was dominated by, you know, excitement and sort of confidence. Yet I was, you know, because I was on the comeback, I had nothing to lose. I was in that right mindset where, you know, I had expectations, but yet I was okay if it didn't work out. So I think this whole combination was a great cocktail for me to play actually really good in free tennis in that finals.
Sounds like, so one of the components then for entering a flow state would be not being too attached to the outcome. Sounds like you had a nice balance.
But usually I am. I think this one was definitely very different because it was on the comeback for 6 months, and I've never really had to go through anything remotely close to something like that. Normally, you know, I go in there, I want to win, have to win at all cost. You know, I'm going to be fighting, I'm going to be playing attacking tennis, I'm going to take it to my opponent, I'm going to make it physical, whatever. I'm more in that mindset, but this Australian Open was very different on many levels.
In the final against Nadal, it looked to me, I could be wrong, but it looked to me like you had changed a tactic. Like there was when I watched you play some matches, Nadal would take his forehand and hit it high and loopy to your backhand and forcing you to slice. This time you seemed to take it early and hit over it, and you did that very successfully. Did you train that in the time off specifically to play Nadal or not?
Not really. I didn't play much with many lefties, you know, in the off season, so I couldn't really train it. and that's also a thing that the court and the ball speed allows you to do it or not to do it, and then also the confidence. Are you willing to step up onto the baseline and drive the ball time and time again? Because everybody can do it once or twice or maybe 10 times a game, but over 3.5 hours, 4-hour match, can you do it again after 3.5 hours? When the legs are a bit more tired and the mind is maybe a bit more wary that, maybe there's that one ball you don't like so much there again, and you have to hit it again. And that's what Nadal does very well too. He makes you doubt yourself, really. And I think that's what I was talking about, having a free mind. Is like I knew that if he wanted to beat me, he had to come up with incredible passing shots, make one more shot, go to my backhand one more time, and again and again and again. And if he didn't do that, I was going to be able to take control from the baseline. And I definitely also surprised myself how well I hit the backhand. But I think actually, I must say also the racket, since I play with a bigger racket head size, that has helped me on the return and especially also on the backhand to be able to drive through it and not shank so many balls. Yeah.
Now, in spite of what you said about like being in the flow state for the final, there was this topsy-turvy. Like you dominated in that first set, and everything you said I observed. Then the second set, it's like he had you, and then in the third set, you were back on top, and then the fourth set, he was like dominating again.
Very much the arm wrestle, yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. What was that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think he came out, played really aggressive in the first set. I did the same, and I think I won the important points in that first set. Second set, I think I actually played okay, but things all of a sudden, he ran away with it. He got that one important point that went his way, and that changed, the outcome of that set. I had to keep on playing the way I was playing, try to stay aggressive. Both of us were doing it, and then sometimes you overplay, and sometimes your guy plays very well in that moment. When then it matches up the wrong way for you, things can go very quickly. That's why it was super dangerous in the beginning of that fifth set, because I did have chances, and it was very easy for me to just tell myself, okay, it's a great run, great comeback regardless. Have break points in the fifth to come back. Who knows then what would have happened? And fifth set, it's okay. It could have been worse. But I didn't allow that thought to creep into my head, and I'm very proud of myself that I kept on fighting, kept on believing, and also what I was telling myself, if I do break back, and I better break back right now, then he's under incredible amount of pressure because now momentum's back on my side. So I think I kept on telling myself actually how good things could be if I did, play the perfect tennis.
So 18 Grand Slams. If you could go back and play one match over again, could be any match that you won or lost, what would that match be?
It's hard to really pick one single match.
Is there a tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have to go my first Wimbledon finals, French Open finals, this Australian Open final against Nadal, and then probably the Agassi finals at the US Open in 2005.
Last question. It seems to be popular today. I don't. If you've given thousands of interviews.
Yes, I have.
is there any question that you wish somebody would ask you that they haven't asked you?
I don't know. I've been asked that question as well before, but I don't know what I answered. It's very hard on the spot to come up with something. I think it really depends on momentum of the interview. Of where do you go, what do you give to the guy who asks you questions, and sometimes you realize that you open up more than you would with somebody else. I also realized that I speak differently when I speak in Swiss German or French, or than in English. So for me, actually, it remains quite interesting when I do all these interviews in different languages. Sometimes after a match, and I have to analyze the match, and I say different things about the match in different languages. So for me, it's quite complex sometimes. But then again, I try to stay away from some topics because I think it's irrelevant that I give my voice, my opinion about everything, and so I like to keep it to tennis and to sports and about the good things in life. But I'm happy to always be very open and please also the interviewer, because I think it's important to build a bridge to the fan who then reads a good article or sees a good interview. I think that's actually quite important for me too.
Well, thank you for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoyed it.